How's it going, Doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Today we're covering a video that got me a little bit hot under the collar, and it just really bothered me, so I figured I would kind of make a rebuttal to it. I don't know, my response about how he says dogs and kids need discomfort in life. Look, I don't have kids. I don't feel like you necessarily, this is not popular opinion, I don't think you necessarily have to have children to understand how they work. I think it's good sometimes to have an outsider's point of view because you're not already tired from raising children for so many years without, with years of sleep deprivation. So I'm just going to give you my 2 cents. The fact that he says it as if it's a fact that they need discomfort in life, coming from someone, myself, who has dealt with severe anxiety. I have been clinically diagnosed with anxiety, not till later in life, but I exhibited signs of it very, very early, since a very, very young age, having panic attacks about going to my first day of school, okay? And when people would punish children in school for not being able to get there on time, and they make a spectacle out of it, when really it's not even the child's fault for being late in the first place. That discomfort doesn't help them learn anything, just like with dogs. Dogs and children do not necessarily need discomfort in life. We can teach them to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, but they don't necessarily need to learn it the way that we think they should learn it.
You're not the king of the freaking world, dude.
Well, neither are you, but he seems to act like it.
And they're gonna go through pain, and like our kids surf, and like they go on 8-foot waves, and it's scary and it's giant. And when they were littler, I was like, oh my god. Now I'm like, yeah, go.
Well, did those children choose to do that on their own though? Through slow, methodical movements, did they choose to? I mean, of course, you're not going to put like a 4-year-old on an 8-foot wave, right? They get to choose how fast they move through that. Or did they not? The dogs don't get that option. And the dogs can tell you whether they want to do it or not, or that they even want to go surfing, or they want to learn this. Dogs cannot tell you any of that. And even when they do, through their body language, he ignores it.
Go experience like hardship. It's good for you.
Well, they can choose to do that, or they don't have to. It doesn't mean that they're going to live a sheltered life, or a sheltered life is necessarily anything bad. You can choose to do things that are upsetting to you or uncomfortable to you. You can go outside of your comfort zone at your own pace. Dogs do not have that option, and children do not have that option, because plenty of parents will force them into situations and say, you know what, you went to camp for 2 months and you came back and you ended up having a good time, or maybe you didn't, but I don't care, because it's good for you. You need to go make friends. And the kid doesn't have an option. They can't tell you, I'm not ready for this yet.
It's easy to say yeah, but it's hard when it's actually happening and you're 12-year-old and you're like, go experience hardship.
Yeah, no, don't say that. If you want your kid to experience it, you need to prepare them for that. Don't just throw them into a pool and say, learn how to swim. You might drown a couple times, we'll bring you back to life, but don't worry about it. You need to go do this. You need to toughen up. You need to learn this and that. How about you see what interests them and you reinforce that behavior. You motivate them in that way. People think all this gentle parenting or understanding a kid or getting on their level is like below them, or it's stupid, or you're going to raise a brat, or look, there's time for corrections and teaching manners and all of this and that, but it doesn't have to be the way, that he's talking about. It doesn't need to be through discomfort.
Because your life's a little too easy.
Oh, really? Okay, what's wrong with having a life too easy? I would love a life too easy. The thing about it is that just because we lived a tough life does not mean our children need to live the lives that we did. We should be making it easier for the children, not harder. Trust me, it's hard enough being a kid, being a teenager. Nobody listens to you. They just blame it on, oh, you're just having a tantrum. They don't even think about, of course he wouldn't think about, the emotional state of them, of a dog or a child or a teenager, or even up until the age of 25, your brain is still forming and you're still maturing. I can say this firsthand. I'm 29 now. I remember at 21, I wasn't nearly grown up enough, let alone at 18 and below. So just because we say, I walk to school, your grandparents say, oh, I walked to school, for 15 miles in high heels, and I had to take the train in the snow and this and that, so you should toughen up too. Well, shouldn't you want better than that for us? I may never have children from my own choice, but if I do, or if I ever did, I would never want them to go through the same experiences that I did. Because yes, I learned from it, I toughened up, yeah, but I didn't have to go through it that way. If I could choose to not go through it that way, I wouldn't. And I would help my kids by preparing them for life. You don't just throw them in there and say, all right, figure it out on your own. A good parent, in my opinion, should prepare their kids for it, and not in the way that we're preparing them with statements like this. Like, your life's too easy, go learn this. They can learn that on their own. They will learn it on their own.
Much money, way more money than I had as a kid.
Okay, so great. Teach them to one, be grateful for that, and then teach them how to invest in that appropriately. Say, hey, that's great. You can put this aside for savings. You can put it aside for school. You can put it aside for if you want to start a business, buy your own car, whatever you want. It's great to teach them to start saving early. Don't wait until, my parents say, don't wait until you're 50 or 60 to start saving.
Go be a little nervous in life, because that's how life's going to be.
Not necessarily, and it doesn't have to be. Like, yes, life is uncontrollable, but you can control a lot of it more than you think. Life doesn't have to be nervous. I could make my life much harder. I have lived my life much harder than it needed to be. You know what? I was depressed. I was anxious. I was, even at points, this is a trigger warning for people, suicidal at points in my life. And this is not about, oh, poor me or blah, blah, blah. My life was more difficult because my medication was not at the right level. The antidepressant I was on was too low. So eventually I talked to my doctor and said, this isn't normal. And as soon as we boosted the levels, I am actually stable. I am working at an average normal human being's level of being and living, and I'm able to live. And I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to live like that. I didn't have to, if I had figured this out earlier in life, I wouldn't have had to be that anxious kid that has panic attacks and nobody knows what I'm going through, and I'm so anxious, and I'm hard on myself, and all of this. I know I'm getting a little bit personal, so hopefully you don't mind. If you don't care, then you would have checked out already. So I don't care. This is more of a personal thing, that you don't have to go through things just because your parents went through them. Your parents should be making life easier for you. So that way you can take in the information that life gives you. You don't need to learn it the hard way just because he did.
And go get through it. Oh,
go get through it.
Yeah, it was scary. All right, you're better for it.
No, you're not. Not necessarily. Like, this kind of stuff just drives me crazy. And there's a million ways to discuss this, and that's fine. It's about a discussion. There's no right or wrong way. This is just, I just see it as he's repeating what he was told. I mean, I'm no psychologist, of course, no therapist. Just to me, it sounds like he's repeating what he was told. He had a hard he had a hard childhood, so you're going to have a hard childhood. He didn't have it easy, so why should you? I want my kids to have an easy childhood, because then they waste so many less years being either depressed or anxious or afraid of things that there's no need to be. But if they are okay, if they're afraid of things that if I'm with anybody who's afraid of things, say social settings, I'm terrified of social settings. That doesn't make any sense to people in my family. Why are you nervous? Why would you be afraid of this? I don't know. That's just the way my brain works. So instead of forcing me, which has happened, flooding me. So an example, when I was young, all the way up until my early 20s, I always wore a hoodie, a jacket, a zip up or a hoodie or a pullover, whatever it is. That was my security blanket, quite literally. Security hoodie. And at times I had people who would take my hoodie off and force me to go into the world in just a t-shirt. And they flooded me, thinking that would help me, taking away my security. You know what happened? It made it worse. And then I didn't trust them as much. So go ahead and try that. Force your kids and see if it helps. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You know what? Sometimes they resent you. And it doesn't make them stronger. It didn't make me stronger. You know what made me stronger is having someone, like a therapist, telling me how to strategically work through it. Give yourself tools. These are all things that we can do with people. We can't even do it with dogs. But we can control everything in a dog's life. If a dog is afraid of a trash can on the side of the road, you can help him through it. That's easy. You can control that. It's more difficult to work with a human, and this guy can't even work with dogs. And he's out here giving advice on kids and whatnot. I mean, anybody can give advice. I'm out here giving advice, so pot calling kettle black.
You know, we got to tamp this 11-month-old, full of himself dude down. I'm not saying it's going to fake your leash reactivity.
Okay, so 11 months old. He's young, not even a year old. Look at the way he holds him. He's talking about leash reactivity. This dog is probably not necessarily full of himself. We don't know. I don't listen to a word he says. I would like to see how this dog reacts. Maybe we will in a future video. I don't know. But the way he's talking about, people compare kids and dogs and how they're spoiled and this and that and this and that. No, they're not. You just look like an idiot to me because you choose not to acknowledge the emotional side of things, which can control so much. So I've ranted enough. I just saw this, and as you can tell, it made me very upset. But hey, this is just my take on it. It doesn't have to be just black and white. Life is not just black and white. As much as people will say it is, it's not. There's, even in his clothes, black and white, there's gray areas. There's green, there's blue, there's, sunlight. Life is not just black and white. Make of it what you will. In the end, worry about yourself and making yourself happy. I know this is kind of a weird, kind of cliche ending to the video, but yeah, I got to rant just like he got to rant. So I hope you enjoyed it. I honestly do hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more philosophical videos about me getting more personal, then yeah, let me know. And if you don't, then that's fine too. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Hope you all are doing well. Until next time, try your best to stay positive. And if you can't, that's okay. Just do what you can.